All right.
So can you please tell me your name, your alias, what you do, maybe your age, a little bit about you.
Yeah. My name is Nimi Phillips. I'm 24. Um, I just like to call myself a free spirit for sure. But what I really want to do and tap into more is my music. I've always loved music. I've always had a passion for music, but I haven't really capitalized on it. So what I want to do right now within this year is really lock in and stay consistent and, start building up my business, my music, my career,
Mm,
my name in the
yeah,
city.
that's hard. Where you from
Yeah.
again?
I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. I mean, I was born in Kerala, India, and then I was adopted when I was 2. So I've lived here my whole life. So I just kind of call it my hometown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you lived anywhere else besides India and here?
I have not. I mean, in hopes one day, like, I'd rather be not tied down to one state.
Yeah.
If I have it my way, have a couple establishments in places, and it doesn't have to be huge houses, but a
Yeah,
little
like
condo in the city
yeah.
here, a place out in California. That's the main goal at some point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this: with you, have you ever had the chance to go to back home at all, like India?
I've had a couple opportunities. How do I explain this? I was a part of kind of I don't know if camp's the right word, but we called it Indian camp. It was just a bunch of people who were adopted from India and their families, kind of just to be closer to people who have the same story. And through that, some of my friends were going back to India and they invited me, but at the time, they live in Chicago, but at the time here, I was having finals in high school. And everyone knows you can't miss out on finals. That's your final grade. So unfortunately, couldn't go with them. But I want to go back. It's not on like the top of my bucket list. There's some people who are adopted who are like, I want to find out everything about me. I want to go back. And it never really has been something that I've prioritized.
Mm,
But as I've gotten older, I'm like, yeah, like let me go back and see more about where I'm from and my culture.
mm,
Even if I was adopted and now live this life, I think it would be cool to just still see my origin.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So also you mentioned music, right?
Yeah.
So with the music shit, are you tied into anything else? Like, is it just solely you just being an artist?
Hmm.
Are there any other things you're super passionate about, or is just artistry right now your
Yeah.
main focus?
I think always since I was a kid, I've envisioned being an artist. But to branch off that at some point is the goal of like being an artist, living that out, and then hopefully having my own label at some point.
Like a
But
record label?
I want that, after I established my own name, if that makes
100%.
sense. So I would love to live out my own career and then be able to like build other new artists of the future up. So the
Mm.
youth. So that's the main goal for me.
So when it comes to like music, who do you pull inspiration from? Like
Absolutely, yeah.
when you trying to get into your real creative bag,
Mm,
who are you kind of listening to, grabbing songs from, being inspired by? Who you listen
yeah.
to?
I mean, flow wise, I definitely take a lot of inspiration from like Party Next Door, Bryson Tiller, Drake. I'm a very like R&B type of girl, so it's like those flows I've always gravitated towards. But my biggest music inspiration of all time is Michael Jackson.
Mm,
I think he's just even the entertainment part of him, like the way that he can just or the way that he did, I should say, was able to dance and just like have you so drawn to him on stage. That stage presence
mm,
has always inspired me. And the way he just like everyone was just so enamored by him when he was on stage, whether he was dancing, singing, or both. So that's my huge inspiration when it comes to the like general topic of music.
yeah.
But for my own music, I definitely pull from a lot of Drake, a lot of just like if you can envision like a late night drive, like what you would listen to, just riding around the city, that type of vibe.
So when you ride around the city, what's like? Let's say you got like 3 songs. What you listening to?
Great question. Um, Probably "She Belongs to the City" by Party Next Door. Love that song.
That new song or older song?
Old song, older song of his.
That nigga crazy. His
Cold.
new shit too though.
Yeah, I'll give it to him, but ain't nothing to the old stuff. It's like people probably like this girl, like they probably hear my music like, girl, you need to update that playlist. No,
That shit
no, there's
classic.
exactly. So Party Next Door, and not just that song, but that one's for sure always played on my late night drives. A lot of Bryson Tiller songs. I really like this song "Exchange,"
Sure.
if you know that one.
Yeah,
And then just any Drake, like old Drake, like Take Care Drake, you know, from that album, or some on Views, some on More Life. I really do love that man. So, and I love his music, so for sure.
You got a dream collaboration?
Ooh, dream collaboration. I mean, it would probably be Drake. I mean, there's a lot of people who have like, if you could be on a song with Drake, that would be so hard. Like, people have said that before even knowing how much I look up to him, music wise. So, but then also like women artists too, like SZA I've been really getting into. Like, I love her voice. A lot of people have compared our voices, where I'm like, don't do that. Like, she is so talented and so great. I appreciate the compliment, but whenever, and multiple people have said that, but that kind of got me listening to her music more. Like, oh, multiple people have said that they've made that connection, so let me see what she's about. And I love her music. I think she's just got such a cold flow. Janae Aiko is another one. How gentle she can be, but she's speaking real shit. Like, she's flowing in such a way where it's like, it's melodic, but like she's really speaking if you listen to her. And then for rap, I know you didn't ask, but for rap, Big Sean. I've always loved Big Sean. I think it's the lyricist part of him. I don't know. I like his flow. I mean, I listen to a ton of trap, but like, as in like artists who've inspired me, Big Sean for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about this? Anybody in the city you want to collaborate with?
Ooh, yeah. The first person that comes to my head is No. Like, he's like a little nephew to me. That's how I always say it. But he's so talented, and we actually have been hitting the stew up. And that's coming soon. So I love even just being in those like creative spaces with him. But if we really utilized our time, and locked down some beats and then like write on them, it's over with. So him for sure. And I'm not actually involved enough in knowing other artists in the city, and I want to be. So like, there's so many talented and great artists out in Madison that I just don't know anything about, and then somebody brings it to my attention and I give it a listen, and I'm like, oh my god, like, I'd love to collab with you and you. I'm spacing on his name. I think his name's Brendan. I don't know. Something.
Is it Brendan Ortiz?
Yes.
Yeah, Shut Up and Stack.
Yes, I didn't want to get it wrong, but I knew you knew him. So.
B Ortiz, that's what you used to
Yes. He. We recently got connected. I think through. I forgot what it was, but we've exchanged a couple messages, and I took a listen to his stuff. So much talent. So he's another one who I've been in communication with, of like, what's to it. And then Trapo, I don't know if he is dropping anything soon, but he always checks in on me. Good friend throughout the years, and I'd love to collab with him too.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this next then. So with you and Nono have any songs out right now together?
We don't have any songs out. We have a couple unreleased tracks. So one that he featured for me, and then a couple that I'm featuring on his tracks. But we've just never gotten them out. And I'll take accountability of like that. That's been on me. Like, he's definitely been a little more consistent within these years, and I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it. Yeah, we'll get to it.
So with the song that you got out right now, how many you got out right now? Do you know?
Man, I mean, SoundCloud days was a whole different era. So if I'm only counting like on all platforms, I think I only have like one or two. And if it's two, I'm really only proud of one. So there's only one that I'm really like, that's the one I usually promote, and it's called Blame.
Blame?
Yeah.
What's the essence of that? When was that released?
Yeah, I believe 2022 is when I released it, but I think it was recorded and stayed in the vault like since 2021, like mixed and mastered. I just never got around to dropping it. And that one I hold dear to my heart, because it's essentially, if you listen to it, and you can kind of get the vision off just the lyrics and the flow. But why I wrote it is to kind of focus in on how mental health plays a part of like when you're in a relationship or loving someone. So like, you have to love yourself first, right? And you have to be at a place, you don't have to be perfect. We all have baggage, but you have to be actively working on your own stuff so you can love yourself, not only correctly, but your other, your partner. And so it kind of talks about the struggles of not being in the right spot mentally yourself, and how that affects a relationship. So that's like the main topic of it.
Was that like a specific relationship, or like just a multitude of them?
I think it was just a reflection on like my own personal like place of where I am with mental health. It wasn't specifically like with one girl, but it was just more of like a general statement of like, you know, I don't want to wrong whoever. I don't want to wrong you. Some of the lyrics for sure was my past relationship. But it wasn't like every single lyric had to do with that relationship. Yeah, it was just kind of pulled lessons from all points of my life or past relationships too, of like, why didn't it work out, you know?
So I'm sure you probably been on both sides of the coin in terms of like, this relationship didn't work out because kind of mainly this person, and then also this relationship didn't work out kind of maybe like because
Yeah.
So what'd you learn from situations to where the relationship didn't work out with this person because kind of like mainly predominantly them?
Yeah. I think probably the biggest lesson I've learned is just that don't ignore red flags and ask the uncomfortable questions. So like for me, I love unconditionally, and I think that is a great trait to have. But you also have to have boundaries for yourself, because if you don't, you're probably going to get fucked up in the end, you know? So standards and not putting the love that you have for someone like in front of the realistic, like the understanding of like, this person might not be where they're at or where they need to be successful in this relationship. And that's with no judgment when saying that, because I can reflect on a personal note of everything I just said within myself. But I think there was a lot of times where I let the love that I had with and for someone kind of blind me from realizing that like the ultimate goal that you want to reach probably will not be able to be attained because of A, B, and C. So just like realizing that if that other person isn't working on the stuff that happened before you or the stuff that they're dealing with now, you can have the best love, you know, you can have the strongest love, but if they don't have that love for themselves in the same way that I have to have that same love for me, like you're gonna hit a crossroad at some point.
Yeah, you're gonna keep pouring into their cup,
Into their cup,
until you empty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of times with those situations, it's like you're devoting so much time and love and energy into somebody, but would they be able to, or would they do the same for you?
Right.
And a lot of times you find out that they don't.
Even if they do get to the point where they have enough to give, are they actually gonna give it to you?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it's not like leaving somebody where you found them, but it's just when you have those moments that shows you like those clear indications of like, oh, you might not be healed, or oh. And this goes, I'm not just like thinking of my ex, just like in a general statement that like take those signs and don't just like ignore them because you want the relationship to work.
Yeah, because
you
it
know,
can even be platonic.
Right.
You don't even gotta
Right.
be romantic.
Right. Sit down with the uncomfortableness and say like, hey, you know, the way that you handled that situation, that didn't really feel like fair to me. Figure out, you know, why that happened, and then ask those hard hitting questions of like, are you seeking professional help for this? What are you doing for you to get over what's preventing us from succeeding? If that makes sense.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So how about the situations to where the relationship didn't work out because kind of mainly on your end? What did you kind of learn from that?
And I would say for me personally, and I haven't had too many relationships. I'm someone who like when I'm in a relationship, like that's my person. So like my relationships have been very long. Like my high school girlfriend, I mean, we dated throughout high school, you know, and then my last relationship, I was with her for 3 years. So like I do definitely put in a lot of time, but I think I tend to focus on who I am in the relationship more than I do who I am in life. And so a lot of the stuff that I've been through, like losing my mom at a young age and healing from that grief, I haven't focused on. It's like I can love, you know, my partner perfect. I can give you everything that you deserve, but am I giving myself that? And then that comes and bites me in the ass later on, because no matter how good I treat the girl, my own, you know, demons or my own issues, you know, arise at some point, and maybe not with her, you know, but within myself, that prevents me from being my true like potential in the relationship on an everyday scale. Like, so a big thing that I like, a big takeaway, and the reason why I'm single right now and not available to anyone is because I need to be available for myself.
Word.
Yeah.
I mean, speak on that. How important is it to be available to yourself when you are let's say single, how important is that?
I think it's more important than prioritizing being available for someone else until you really get a good understanding of your true self. Like, that should be your main priority. That should be everyone's main priority. And I learned that the hard way. Of giving my 110% into a relationship and knowing that I was successful within that, but not successful with taking care of myself on a personal side. And with that being said, it taught me great value of loving yourself, which I've never fully done before. Yeah. And I'm still working on. And when I say all this, it's not to say you have to be perfect, right? Because we're always evolving. Like, there's always going to be more to learn. There's always going to be more to unlearn. But I just didn't handle the grief of my mom correctly up until really right now, where I'm putting in the work and I'm actually talking about the things that hurt, instead of suppressing them and acting okay when I'm really not okay. Yeah.
So in that case, that leads me to ask you, like, what does loving yourself look like practically in today's age?
Yeah. Loving myself is accepting, the mistakes and flaws that maybe I've made in the past, but not allowing them to excuse me staying stagnant. So instead of, I can wake up and put a smile on my face and go throughout my day and make the money I need to make to pay the bills, but like that, I'm not looking within of like, you're still sad, you're still depressed, you're still this, you're still that. And where do the roots of all your problems truly stem from? And everyone's different, but for me, it's losing my mom and not ever grieving the correct way. And I don't think I lost her when I was 12. She was sick since I was 6 years old. So you're a kid, you're young. There wasn't a lot of healing I could have done back then in a true form of understanding everything. But to love myself looks like, finding good ways to cope, healthy ways to cope. So I used to just smoke weed all the time, because that would escape me from my thoughts, put me in a high or a place where, I feel good, I'm vibed out, but I also was running from a lot. Okay. So it's like, you can feel good for those temporary highs or those moments, but when you come down, you still sitting with all the pain and hurt of her gone. And I think a big thing for me was I wasn't ready to accept it for a lot of years, because by accepting it means that it's a reality. It's the real, like it's real. It's real life that she's gone. And I didn't want to admit that, because for me and for anyone who goes through grief, whether it's a parent or a relationship or a friend, but specifically for me, when it's with my mom, it's like I am grieving the time that I had with her, but more of my grieving comes from my life that's going to continue without her. So all the big dates, a wedding, graduation, accomplishments, accolades, where it's like, or even hardships. I can't call mom. I can't run to mom. I have a girlfriend issue. I don't have my mom to talk to, and my relationship with my father is not the best, which I don't personally want to get into, but it's something that I just have to, sit down with myself and realize things aren't, how I wish they were, but it is what it is. And what are you going to do to cope in the best ways possible, where you feel not okay, but enough to get through. So
earlier you mentioned like reading, nature walk.
Yeah.
You being like in the gym.
Yeah.
Eating healthy.
Yes.
Or like making healthier choices.
Yeah.
You kind of want to like expand that.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for kind of getting me back on track, because those are key things of like what loving myself looks like. So like, I have been one, I know it sounds very hippie, but like I've been one with nature for like the past months, and it's been refreshing, because for me personally, like when it was at least summertime, like taking those hikes, taking those walks just by myself, just talking to my mom, talking to God, just talking to myself.
Music or like silence, or like a little bit of both?
Silence. Always silence for me. All my hikes and walks that I've done within these couple months has been no technology, no phones, no nothing. In my pocket. I'm still a woman at the end of the day. We might be in a set. I can run fast, but not that fast. I still got to type 911 in, but so in the back pocket, but no distractions in a sense, even though I don't think music's a distraction, but for me in those times, like having complete silence is the best, like no sensory, like just me, my thoughts, and nature, and just like visualizing and smelling the fresh air and looking at the trees and the flowers. Like I can tell that you can see it just kind of like brightens me up. But getting back to that has been great. Sports and fitness, absolutely. Like going to the gym, just getting that exercise, even if it's just like 50 push-ups, like just to get that serotonin boost instead of like smoking a blunt. Like stuff like that has really helped. Eating healthy has really helped. I've never been a big drinker, but like being sober from that for months has helped me too. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: what do you kind of do on your free time to have some fun? You know what I'm saying? To let loose, to relax, enjoy yourself.
And I wouldn't say freshly out of my relationship. It's been some months now, but when you're with somebody for 3 years, your routine is obviously different when you're in a committed relationship. So I had to kind of rediscover what fun was for me. Okay. I had to rediscover what was fun for me. And that looks like these days of being with friends, you know, on the weekends, or just getting outside. I went to a Badger basketball game. I think that was yesterday. Got to sit courtside, you know, speak to people. One of the old court. Yes, I was. Yes, sir. Don't ask me. Don't ask me.
Motherfuckers edgy with the song.
I was talking to the old, you know, Badger coach and a couple other people. So like just doing fun stuff. And I was really gonna stay home. I had those tickets, and I was like, it's not, you know, it's not the craziest game. Like maybe I'll just take it easy. And then I was like, you're only off for a couple days out of the week. Like, go do some. And then that got me, you know, to the studio late at night, like a little impulsive thing with No, who I talked about. And so, yeah, spending time with friends, getting back to music is a huge thing in my free time, of just listening to beats and just writing about everything I feel. So that's really what I do in my free time. Yeah. Or, like I said, nature. But in the winter, I like to stay in. I'm not a big winter. My birthday's in the winter, but I don't like the winter. So.
How old are you right now?
I'm 24.
24.
Yeah.
Yeah, you was telling me your zodiac is Sag, right?
Sagittarius,
like, like a firm believer in like zodiac, you just kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one of those people who like will judge or define somebody like fully off their zodiac. Like I might talk a little bit of shit, like, "Oh, you're a Gemini," you know. Yeah, I know they do, you know. So, but at the end of the day, like we are all unique in like who we are. Like that, who we are is made up of so many things. Like it's not just based off your zodiac. But the way that I got kind of intrigued with my own zodiac was everyone kept talking about theirs, and I looked mine up. And like all the characteristics of a Sagittarius, I felt like was a T to like who I am. I was like, whoa, this is a little too accurate right now for me. So ever since that, it's kind of just been fun to like see what, you know, more what they say about Sagittarius is. And when I was younger, my dad always read my horoscope. Like they used to have it on the newspaper on the bottom. He'd be like, "Let me read your horoscope of the day." And I didn't even know what that meant. Like this man was just reading a quote, and I was like, okay. Like I didn't even know that horoscopes corresponded with zodiac signs. But that's like your whole reading of the day based off when you were born. So I kind of think it's cute that like he's always done that since I was a kid, and I didn't really even make the connection until probably a couple of years ago, I'd say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that leads me into like asking about like angel numbers, like spirituality, psychedelics.
Yes.
With these few different things, how do you kind of feel about those?
So I definitely feel very spiritual in life, and I always have. I'm one of those people, like I always catch 11:11, always seem to catch 4:44, a lot of 3:33s, a lot of like repeating numbers. And I've liked to. I don't know as much as I want to know about what spiritual numbers or like angel numbers mean, but I think that it's really unique. I think it's interesting. I think the things that I have read, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And 11:11 has been a big one in my life. I always catch 11:11 in both sets. So 11:11 in the morning and 11:11 p.m. And everyone knows like 11:11 make a wish. And I think that's always sweet that I always catch that. And I definitely do make a wish. And I actually have like a tattoo right here that the number is significant on the clock because it reads 12/7. So my mom passed away on July 12th, so 7/12. I was 12 years old when it happened, and the 7 in spiritual meaning, at least from what I know, is it's the what I know is it's like the thinnest line between both dimensions of like here life on earth and like life after this life that you live on earth. And it's like it's apparently like the thinnest line like between both realms. And I think that's very, very sweet because I feel my mom's presence. I feel her as a guardian angel. So yeah, I do have a little tattoo right here that has that.
What you think happens after this?
You know, I don't know. I don't know. And that's a part of it where I don't really have a say. I think that you'll find out when it's your time to find out. I think that there's absolutely like another life that you live. I don't know if it's reincarnation. I don't know if it's heaven or hell. Like, you know, I don't know if it's, you know, you're a speck of dust floating around. Like I don't try to figure it out. I just have the open-mindedness of like when it is my time, I'll go to the next place and be like, oh, like this, okay, this is where we're at. Like this is the new life.
Yeah.
But I definitely do believe that there is life after death, for sure. I just don't know how to define it, and I'm not really a person who wants to. I'll get there when I get there. You know, we'll cross that bridge when we cross that bridge. Yeah, exactly. But I do believe that there's a spiritual presence everywhere, and I've had certain moments where I've like I said, I've felt my mom, or I've had moments where I'm like, there's got to be a higher power, or this, that. So, yeah.
So let me make a pivot real quick. So with you being in the music, where do you want to go to really lock in with in terms of like in the U.S.? Lock in with some motherfuckers. You think like you want to go to New York, Cali, Houston? Where would you want to go? Like if I gave you a motherfucker 2-week ticket right now, nigga, all expenses paid, you can lock in with whoever. Where would you want to go?
California.
Yeah.
I think that it has, I won't say the most opportunity because there's great places like you already named New York. Texas actually has a ton of opportunities. Atlanta. Yeah, they are. Houston and Atlanta. Like so much music there for sure. Quality control, all of that. But California for sure. Just even the vibes, the aesthetic. Like it's always called to me. I have family. My mom's side of the family lives throughout California, so I've always spent a lot of summers there, and I've always just felt like, oh, this is home. And I've felt that way in two places, California and the studio. So I would probably pick California just to be connected. Max is out there, who is local or from here. So some connections already there that I would tap into.
Word. Let me ask you this. Boom.
Yeah.
So when it comes to music, what's your creative process look like? Like, do you write everything?
Yeah.
Freestyle? Are you? Like?
My creative process always starts with the beat. Sometimes that's a lie. Sometimes I do have a moment where I just randomly say a bar and I write it down in my notes, or I'm feeling away, I'm sad about, you know, my past relationship, start thinking about it, maybe write a few bars. But that actually takes me longer to do rather than find a beat first. So that's like usually my go-to. Listen to some beats. I'll know if it's the beat. Like that's just like my ear that I have. Like I will hear a beat and be like, yeah, this is the one. Like, or this will be one of the ones, you know? So yeah, find a good beat, vibe out to it. And then as I'm listening to the beat and I hear that switch, like, oh yeah, I can do something with this, I then go to freestyling a little bit, whether I'm in the car or at home or even in the studio, kind of, you know, get a little mumbling, get a little flow down. And then with the flow, I execute some lyrics. So I take that flow and all those little mumbled lines and start putting some words and lyrics behind it. Yeah. So that's really kind of how I do it. A big thing that's helped me is voice memoing. So like once I find a beat, kind of have that voice memo, it's kind of like a recorder. So anything that I really do say off the dome that actually hits or that I like or that I could, you know, work off of, I don't have to like try to, what was that? What did I say? Like, oh no, that's not right. So I could just look back on that voice memo and go from there. So it's like beat, freestyle, lock down some lyrics, and then like really finalize the flow. Yeah. And then try to add layering and stuff like that.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, earlier you mentioned like layering is kind of is it newer to you?
Yeah, it's for sure newer. I I'm a perfectionist. I'm my biggest critic, I'd say. And there's a lot of songs in the past that I'm like, girl, you just went into the studio and that was the most monotone thing that I've ever heard. Like, it could be so much better. Or I listen to my past tracks, and even in the car, I'll be layering it with, the song that's playing, my voice that's playing. And I'm like, this would have gone so much harder if you added, that echo effect, if you added that layering. So it is new. And it comes from the reflection of, like, so many songs in the past could have gone so much harder if you pushed yourself a little more. There's a lot of times where I could hear, on my tracks that are on SoundCloud, which again, those were just for fun, but like I hear myself and I can envision myself just standing in the studio and singing from the throat instead of your diaphragm, instead of your, stomach. And like don't hesitate. Go in there and belt that shit, like go in there and speak, like let them hear your emotion, like through your voice. You don't have to, play it safe. You don't have to go in with this calm register, try new things. So that's a big thing. That's a goal of mine this year, to push myself, get out of my comfort zone. Because I'm not saying that the monotone, calm voice doesn't sound good. It's a vibe. Like, it's gotten me a lot of people who like my music off of that. But think about if I come in, 10 times harder, what that could do for me.
Okay, so let's go to questions.
Yeah.
One is, what's some advice that you would give to, like, just upcoming artists or motherfuckers that really want to get into music and make a real profession out of this shit?
Yeah, that's a great question. My biggest downfall for sure in the like timeline of things has been the lack of consistency. So for anybody who wants to be an artist or is thinking about it or has already started, like, consistency is key. And I'm sure everyone says that, but it's true. So it's like, you can put out a great song and everyone will love it. But then if you go ghost, it's like you don't have the next song that people can keep playing. Like, for me personally, I there's some classics out there, but like, when you're listening to like a playlist in the car, like, in your auction, you're like, I've listened to the same 20 songs for the past months. Like, I need something new. So it's the same thing for artists of like, be consistent, give your audience, even if it's 2 listeners, give them something new that they can grasp onto and then they can, hear fresh for the first time, or like have something that they can, run to the ground, but it's not the same song that they've been listening to. So consistency for sure. And not being afraid to like network and put yourself out there. That's a big one too. Like, take the opportunities. I think this city really struggles with there's like a competition dynamic. It's like everybody is in competition with everybody, or the majority of people are. And that's not ever been me. Like, we can all eat. Like, I don't care if you make it a decade before me. Like, I'm gonna have my turn. What I'm doing in life has nothing to do with what you're doing in life, other than me wanting to support you. But that's not a lot of people's mindsets in this city, that I've heard, that I've known, that I've seen, I've observed. So networking with the right people, and also like taking those chances of like having a feature on somebody else's thing, hit up somebody for photography, get out there and be like, hey, I really like that music video you did. Is there any chance that I can work with you too? So like, putting yourself out there, for sure.
That's hard.
Yeah.
And how about
Thank
this?
you.
Any motherfucking like words you want to get to the city, like Madison, Wisconsin specifically, in terms of like the creators, people that's in the scene?
Yeah, the city. I mean, I love this city. When you grow up here your whole life, I think, and people will probably relate to this part if you have grown up in Madison, your entire life, it's like you want something different. You want something new. And that's why a lot of people tend to move at some point. And I too want to move out of the city at some point, but to bring stuff back. So it's like, I don't want to be gone forever. I want to, build this city up. I want my name to be, said in rooms and be able to have opportunities to give back to the community, to have, more facilities for kids who, struggle or don't have, the same, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Maybe
just the same,
resources
resources and like just resources is a good word for it, or just like
maybe the information drive.
Yeah, and
feel like they can't do it.
Exactly, and also just like especially for people of color, kids of color, like having these areas and these community centers for them, like so they can stay off the street, so they got somewhere to be, and you don't get kicked out at 8 p.m. No, you get to be here. There's a studio, there's a basketball, like there's multiple things, kind of like the Boys and Girls Club, but like just more of that in our city, and bringing awareness to a lot of the people who are in power in the city who don't have that perspective, because most of them are white, so that but a message to the city is just, I appreciate you for supporting me when you don't necessarily have to. There's so many people who have even supported me just by like hearing one song, being like, you're gonna make it if you put your mind to this, like we're not worried about you, like don't forget us when you're famous. And I'm like, stop, don't do all that. But I just appreciate the love I do collect from a lot of people in this town and in this city, because like I was saying before, it is rare, so I'm very appreciative that I do have an audience that is like, nah, like we got your back, we're gonna buy this. Y'all don't even listen to iTunes, but I'm gonna buy your song on iTunes.
That's hard.
Yeah, so
have people actually like that?
Yeah, there's been multiple people who are like, streamer services is the new wave, but the best thing that you can do for local artists is buy their music, even if it's 99 cents, $1.29, whatever it is on iTunes now. Like, you don't even need that because you are always listening to it on Spotify, but you're going to do that, in the same way if I had a clothing brand. Like, you're going to pop out and buy some and support, a local small business.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I guess, lastly, just real quick.
Yeah.
What's the next thing we can expect out of you in terms of people that are your audience?
Yeah.
And supporters?
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
the next thing that they can grab onto?
Yeah.
That's an extension of you. Besides maybe seeing you out in public or maybe this interview. What's the next thing we can do differently?
I think the best thing I can say is actions speak louder than words, right? No, truly. But what you can expect from me is just a ton of more consistency. So like this year, I'm not walking into it like, oh, this year is going to be my year. Like, no, this is preparation. Like this is grind mode. This is like kind of the off season where you're working super hard for the big time. And so that's going to show within my work of how consistently you get music. I'm going to probably drop something and everyone's going to be like, great, but here we go. We have to wait a fucking year until she gets her shit back together, But no, it's going to be like, a drop, this week, and then maybe in a couple weeks or the next month, and also music videos. I want to bring visuals into my time that I'm putting in for music, because I think it adds an element. I even love it where it's like I listen to the new Drake song and I'm already like, I can't wait to see this man's music video because he's gonna go so hard. So for sure, visuals. And just like a new sound, because from the stuff that I have been messing around with and the people who have been able to hear little snippets or the ideas, they're like, Nim, like this is a new you. Like you're coming 10 times harder than I've ever even like heard before. And I love that because that means there's growth. Mm-hmm. So more music, more consistently, visuals, and just a new energy, a new wave. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.